The period from 1603 to 1625 is known as the Jacobean Age. It is known as the Jacobean Age because James the First, who became King of England, was James the Sixth of Scotland, and Jacob and Jacobean, from which the English name James comes, from Jacob. Jacob, James, Jacobean. So 1603 to 1625 is the Jacobean Age, and during the Jacobean Age, if you look at the literary things during this period, the first thing you need to know is that in the year 1604, James I ascended the throne in 1603 after the death of Elizabeth. And in 1604, the work of translating the Bible into English began. And the work continued till 1611. It was under the sponsorship of James I of England. Then you have a number of writers in the Jacobean period is one thing, but majorly you will need to focus on four: William Shakespeare, Ben Jonson, John Donne. See, these people have been there even in Elizabeth's time. William Shakespeare was there, Francis Bacon was there, Ben Jonson was there, John Donne was there. These people were there in the Elizabethan period, but they have written a lot during the Jacobean Age. And so you will have to look at the literature of these four people primarily. There are others. You have Marston, you have Beaumont, Fletcher. There are others, but these four people you will have to really focus on. Ben Jonson was a great writer of masques, MASQUES, dramatic entertainments, and these dramatic entertainments called masques were very popular during the reign of James I. There is a separate video on masques available in my channel. If you go, you'll find it. So you could just take a look at that. Apart from that, Ben Jonson has written a number of plays, and many of them are very, very well known. You will have to know Walpole or the Fox. You will have to know Epicene or the Silent Woman. Of course, you'll have to know Alchemist. You'll have to know Bartholomew Fair. So there are several plays by Ben Jonson, and you will have to know these plays in considerable detail. So Ben Jonson, Shakespeare's plays, of course, the plays of Shakespeare, 37 plays in all. He has written 154 sonnets. You will have to know those. You will have to know John Donne and metaphysical poetry. That too belongs to this period. And you will have to know the essays of Francis Bacon, and you will have to know everything that Bacon has written by way of philosophy. All that belongs to the Jacobean age. Now from 1625 to 1649, Charles I, who is the son of James I, Charles I will come to the throne, and this king's reign is filled with a lot of tension. There will be what is known as the period of the Great Wars, basically civil wars, which began somewhere around 1642, and they continued even after the death of Charles I. Charles I was beheaded. We have covered that in the earlier video. In this video, what you need to know about Charles I is that you have what is known as the Caroline Age. Just as, Jacobean comes from Jacob, so also Caroline comes from Carolus Charles. Just as you have Jacob, Jacobean, James, so also you have Carolus, Caroline, and Charles. Charles I. So Caroline age basically means the period when Charles I was ruling. That is the Caroline age, which means 1625 to 1649. This is the Caroline age, and within this age, now there will be a kind of split in loyalties. There will be a group which is loyal to the king. They will be the royalists, and these people will be known as the Cavaliers. So you have a number of Cavalier poets. You have John Suckling, you have Richard Lovelace. So the Cavalier poets basically supported the king, and they not only supported the king, they were in favor of his policies. They were followers of Ben Jonson, and they opposed metaphysical poetry. They were against the style of John Donne and the metaphysical poets. Now, these Cavalier poets, Robert Herrick, Richard Lovelace, Thomas Carew, Sir John Suckling, all these people are Cavalier poets. They are going to emulate Ben Jonson, and they are going to oppose metaphysical poetry, the style of John Donne. How? John Donne and metaphysical poetry tended to be partly secular, partly religious, but the Cavalier poets will write in a completely light-hearted way. They do not want to get into that investigation, those clever arguments that were presented by metaphysical poetry. The Cavalier poets were not interested in any of that. They were interested in more light-hearted verse. Those who opposed the king were those who were in favor of the parliament. Either people were in favor of the king, so they were royalists, cavaliers, or they were in favor of the parliament, and they came to be known as the Roundheads. So within the Caroline period, you have the Cavalier poets and you have the Roundheads, those who were against Charles I, and Milton is one of those. Oliver Cromwell, the Prime Minister, he's one of those. So this is about the Caroline period. The Caroline period or the Caroline age pertains to Charles I. But within the Caroline age or Caroline period, you have both these people. You have the Cavaliers and you have the Roundheads too. Then in 1649, when Charles I is beheaded, then you'll have that Commonwealth period for 11 years. And then in the year 1660, the Restoration will happen and Charles II will be brought back to the throne of England. The Restoration is a period which you will have to study in considerable detail.